club. Riding this from Florida with love. When I'm in the mess, come on, I find the blood. Rest in peace, static, son, shot it, one thug. Bottles in the club. Hey, you know that, let's stop. Right. Corvette. Wait. Bitch. Corvette. Shit like that. I'm going to stop here. It's hard for me to be a TikToker. Hi, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. Just in case you guys were wondering, I have on a whole tank top. I don't want y'all to think I'm just out here all willy-nilly. But I like this shirt. I got it from Ross. I bought it a long time ago. Don't remember when or why I bought it. But anywho, while we're here, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, highly freaking requested. One of my bestest good friends has asked me over and over and over to make a video about brushes and the best brushes to use. So I gathered up 15 2R sponges and then 2R eyebrows. The rest are brushes, but either way it goes, I kind of merged some together, but in all, it's 15. But I got together 15 brushes of my personal favorites that I use. They are affordable brushes. They are not expensive brushes. I got them together and these are my personal brush recommendations. I think that these brushes are really awesome to use, and I am just such a really I'm a really big fan of them. So with that being said, I'm not gonna waste any more time because y'all know I like to get talkative. I already had my own little intro, whatever. But before we get into this video, make sure that you subscribe, like, comment, hit that bell to be notified every time that I post a video here on my channel. And yes, with all of that, we're just gonna get into it. We're just going to jump right into it. So if you are interested to see my ultimate brush recommendations that are affordable, please keep watching this video. All right, so I don't see this being a super long video, but I'm gonna try and go through these brushes as quickly as possible. This is like a bonus thing. I didn't include this item in my overall kind of count, but I'm gonna just say this is a bonus honorable mention. I think that to start off, every girl should have a makeup freaking bag, whether it's for your makeup bag, your brushes. I actually have another one that I really use. So this is a good brush bag, because normally I'll put my makeup in here and then I'll put my brushes in here. Sometimes I have two makeup bags. I actually have, for travel, I have like a hard makeup box that I got. It's like a travel case that I got from Amazon. So I have a couple of things that I tote my tools in, but for the most part I use this one and sometimes I use this. So the first thing that I would recommend, that it probably should have been the last because again it would have been an honorable mention, but the first thing that I do recommend is getting you a makeup bag, finding a place to house your stuff. If you are like at a vanity or a desk, this kind of goes hand in hand. Don't mind my brushes. I'm not showing these ones because I haven't washed them. Laziness at its finest. But I will say that if you have a desk and you are like a vanity or something, if you don't have a makeup bag, that's more so for travel. But I house all my brushes in mugs. I get all my mugs from Ross. Pretty much everything cute and extra that I get from Ross. Sometimes I go to TJ Maxx, Marshalls, but for the most part, Ross is my jam. I shop there a lot. So, personally, I like using mugs to house my brushes. So, like, you see that I literally have, like, all types of mugs. But, as you can see, this is how I store my brushes, just because it's just easier that way. And then I know it doesn't look organized, but the brushes are organized based on how often I use them. And I have a container that I have a lot of brushes. If I could show y'all, but I have a lot of brushes. I think one of the main containers that I use is this one. Before I get into the individual brushes, I want to talk for a second about brush sets. So not every brush in here, but majority of the brushes because this was $160. This is the Morphe X James Charles Unleash Your Inner Artist brush collection. So I use this container to store all my brushes. It's really made for I feel like it's made for actual makeup artists when they're working for their kit, but I just use this because it actually, I can't get it out, but this actually has a top and it closes. It's a big thing, but I always leave it like this. But because I do my makeup and I do my makeup so often and I do YouTube, I like buying brush sets because I feel like they're easier for me to kind of work with. I prefer to use brush sets just because I get a lot of different varieties. Like I know in James Charles, he had brushes that were only exclusive to his brush collection, so to his collab. So you get a lot of cool brushes. So I have all of these. I have about 3 solid brush collections that I did pay some money for. These aren't affordable, but I got them Makeup by Mario and Sephora. I got the full face brush set. I don't use this too much. I mainly just like to have it for show. The one brush set besides the James Charles, I bought this one. This was my first brush set that I ever purchased that was on the high side. It is Morphe. It's the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill. I wanted this box because I need storage. I can't just have everything out, but the box opens up like this, and then you have all of her brushes. So her brushes have this white bottom. I use these for so long. One time in my life I was doing makeup, like other people's makeup for events and stuff. So I was using this to travel just because I felt like every brush that I needed was in here and I could separate it from my personal brushes. But I've washed them now, and I don't know why I don't grab for these that often. I think it's because it has kind of just become like a sitting piece in my on my desk, and I kind of forgot about it. But if I'm keeping it a buck, the reason why I brought up brush kits is because people think that, like I said, it's usually easier for people to just have all brushes in one place, pay one large lump sum, and then that's it. That's great in the grand scheme of things. The reason why for beginners or for people who aren't familiar with makeup brushes, I don't recommend that, because I do feel like a lot of times with brush kits, it's so many brushes and it's so many options. And if you're new to makeup or you've only used a certain amount of brushes or certain things, then it almost feels like it's overwhelming and it's too much because you don't know what brush you can use with what. You think you know what. Not that every brush has a specific purpose, but every brush kind of does have a specific purpose. I think that's what makes makeup so easy to do sometimes, is because it does have a specific purpose. But I will just say, if you do choose to buy a brush set, proceed with caution, just because it's usually a lot of brushes in one set. What I do recommend, that's another affordable brand, is BH Cosmetics in Ulta and online. You could go and look at one of those brush kits that they usually sell, or brush sets, excuse me. And usually on the back, it has what the brush is associated with the numbers. Now, that's going to be hard once you throw your packaging away, but by that point, you should be a little bit more versed in exactly what kind of brushes you're trying to use and what you're trying to create. So I will say you could start there, maybe with Real Techniques and e.l.f. brush sets. You could start there. They're a little bit on the cheaper side, so you won't be spending so much money on something and you don't know anything about it. It becomes overwhelming and then you don't even want to deal with it anymore. So I will say that I'm like 50-50 with brush sets. I think they're good to get if you do makeup and you just want some new makeup brushes. I do recommend getting brush sets. But if you're new to it, if you do want a set to start, I would start with maybe like an e.l.f. or Real Techniques, stuff like that. Or I personally would just go and kind of purchase the items single that I'm about to go over with you guys. So, like I said, you need your bag. I'm going to go in order as you do your makeup. So I'm just going to take all my brushes out of this bag and lay them in front of me so I can see what I'm working with. So fun fact, All of the brushes that I am using are from Morphe. If I have to recommend, I know that there's a lot of other brush brands like Makeup Shack, and there's a lot of other ones that I personally want to try, but I'm kind of a creature of habit. Like, I love to purchase makeup, but at the same time, I also like what I like, and I've grown to love these brushes. They're all Morphe. If you live here in Atlanta, there is a Morphe store. I say this all the time. Morphe need to rock with your girl. But if you stay in Atlanta, there is a Morphe store in Lenox Mall, and they sell every last brush, that single that I'm talking about. I'm not sure if any of these brushes are a part of the James Charles collection and aren't sold separately, but I do think that majority of them are in the store. And then I have about maybe 4 other items that aren't Morphe, but they're still affordable and they're still my favorite. So let's just get into it. The first brush that I highly, highly recommend, it depends on your makeup style. I think that for beginners, using a brush to put on makeup is very easy because you have a little bit more control. And you guys see me use this brush all the time. I did clean it. This just was giving me a hard time, or I may have used it, I don't know. But I have about 3 of these brushes. They're my favorite. It's the Morphe M433 Brush. And this is a buffer brush. They say it's a buffer brush. This is what I use to put in my foundation. Kind of like how you see Jackie Aina use that NYX one that I can't find anywhere. This is that for me. I use this every single time I put on my foundation. I just don't like applying my foundation with a beauty blender because a lot of times I feel like it's too much. Like, I feel like my face is really cakey. I could be just doing it wrong. I still want to try my hand in that, but for the most part, I always use this particular brush. Like I said, I have 3 of them. And sometimes when I'm in the store, I just randomly buy a new one just because I don't ever want a day to come and I have to use a different brush. So this is the Morphe, again, M439 foundation brush. It is one of my favorites. I'm pretty sure you could use it, but I think it's made for cream foundation. So this is option number 1. Okay, so if we're going in order of my face, my concealer brush. So this I did just use in a video. I did just use this to do my makeup, so it is a little bit dirty, so excuse that, but we use our brushes over here, okay? They are not collecting dust. So this is the Morphe M173 brush. It kind of looks like this. It's a buffing crease brush, I think. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I know, again, I don't like to use beauty blenders to blend out any cream products. Sometimes I do, but for the most part, I'm always using a beauty blender. I'm always using a brush. So I use, again, this is the M173. That's how it looks. It's very dense. It's like a smaller version of this foundation brush. And I just use it. You guys seen it in one of my videos. I just zhuzh under there and keep it pushing. This is my favorite, and it blends it out. It doesn't leave it streaky. I highly recommend, if you do use a brush for your concealer, I recommend this brush 110%. I'm gonna hop to eyebrows because a lot of times I'll do my foundation, maybe my concealer, and then my eyebrows. These are two brushes that are not Morphe, but this is my e.l.f. lash and brow wand. This is my second one. I've had this same one, and I think they're only $1 at Target. And I think I need to go and buy a couple more because I don't know if they're going to discontinue, because I know a lot of their brushes are black. They don't have this white wand anymore, so I need to go double check. But you see, I bend it myself just to help me, and I use it for my eyebrows and sometimes my lashes. This is probably one of my staple pieces that I have, although it is so simple and it's so basic, and you're like, why do you need a spoolie? It's just like, you don't know how helpful it is to brush your brows before you apply your brow products. Having false lashes, just throwing no mascara, just straightening your lashes out, or even like your fake lashes, your strip lashes, like, I don't know, it's just purposeful. And then I have this Anastasia Beverly Hills. I say this is affordable, even though it's a little bit high end. I say this is affordable because I think it's only like 18 or 20 bucks. That's high. There is, I don't know if I can find it at this very moment, but I do have a Morphe alternative to it. I have a couple alternatives. I have an e.l.f. alternative, and then I have a Morphe one that I just saw earlier today. Oh, and I have a Morphe one that kind of looks, is like a dupe for that. It kind of looks exactly the same. The reason why I first recommend the Anastasia one, if you're willing to spend that, is because this right here is so thin, and I use this to apply any cream, any powder into my eyebrows, and it's just so thin, and it feathers so lightly into your brows. It doesn't make you apply your brows really heavy. So I really like this, especially because I naturally have thick eyebrows, so I like that I have more control with this particular wand. And this is the Anastasia 7B brow brush. So now we're going back in. I have two things for powder. I'm gonna start with powder because I use another brush for cream contour, but it is not affordable, so I'm just gonna stick with what I have. But for bronzer, I use the Morphe R2 brush. This looks a little bit different than the ones with the silver that I'm showing you. I did order this online. I think they probably have this in a regular way, but the way it's kind of like, it's not a full fluff brush. Like, this is my full fluff brush, which I'm going to mention just, and this is the Morphe E41 brush. This is a full-on fluffy brush for your powder foundation, all of that good stuff. So this is a good brush to have, honorable mention. But this is what I use for my bronzer, and it kind of has like this little, it's not, like I said, it's not that big round like we just saw. It's kind of like tapered. And then I just run it around, and it's kind of made to be fluffy enough to not add enough product, but to get in here, to get in your creases. So this is what I use for bronzer. That is the Morphe R2 brush. Another one for bronzer is the powder blending Sonia Kashuk. Now, I like Sonia Kashuk. She's in Target. Her brushes are a little, they're kind of like Morphe brushes. There's some cheaper brushes, and then there's some more expensive ones. I think the bigger powder ones are a little bit more expensive. I like this particular brush though. This is the color of the bristles. It's not me. I think it is. But I also use this for bronzer, and sometimes I just like using this big fan brush because sometimes it's just easier to just get deep in the crevices to get that like crisp look that you're looking for. So this is a really, really good brush. Next, if we're applying powder all over our face, y'all know that I always use, up until my Fenty one, I always use the Sephora one. So backstory, Alyssa Ashley, when I was heavy watching her videos, she's still really dope, really awesome here on YouTube. But when I was heavy watching her videos, she used the Sephora powder in this brush together, and it's been magic ever since. I bought the combo, and it's been magic ever since. This is the Morphe E58 brush, and what I like about this brush, particularly for adding my powder foundation instead of a big fluffy brush, is that I feel like this gets more precise in where you're trying to add your powder foundation. So it has, see, it's kind of like an angle. So it like slants like this. If you could see it, it slants, but it's still dense enough to add powder, but it slants, and then it's really, really fluffy. It is one of my favorite, if not my favorite brush, next to the foundation brush. This one and that powder does wonders. This and probably any powder does wonders, but I really do like using this particular brush for powder. And then for your cheekies, I like to use the Morphe E4 brush. Again, this is basically like a smaller version of this brush. It's just, I know they look exactly the same, but if we look at them, they're different. It's just a smaller version. I like the angle. Again, when you're working in angles, it's easier to put your blush on because you're applying your blush. Why can't I say that? You're applying your blush like this. So it's easier to get on than how it was before. So I definitely like this for blush. I do have another higher end version of a blush brush that I like, but if I had to pick one out of my stash, I usually always pack this one, like if I'm going out or whatever, if I'm getting dressed at my boo's house or something, I usually pack that one just because I know that it's going to give me the effect that I'm looking for. So that is definitely one of my favorite brushes. So we're closing in on the face. We just have a few more face items and then the rest are eyes. So for highlighter, I like the M500. Y'all probably saw me use this in my last video, but I like this particular brush just because it's really like light, but it's still precise. So lately I really haven't been wearing highlighter like that. I don't know why. I just haven't really been into the whole glittery, shiny look. I kind of like, I don't know. I can't explain it. I just haven't really been into it like I normally am. So basically, I like this particular brush because it takes on enough product. It doesn't put on, excuse me, too little or too much. It's like the perfect amount that you need. And I just put it right up there and in all the spots like this. I achieved this with this brush. You just put it on and I feel like you have a little bit control over the brushes the amount of highlighter that you put on your face with this particular brush. So I definitely recommend the Morphe M500 brush for highlight. To finish up the face, I have two items right here. I have my beauty blender. This one is unopened. I have not used it yet. And my Sonia Kashuk sponge. So as you guys know, you've seen me use this so much. I use this, and call me weird, but this is what I use. I threw in a beauty blender because even though I don't use it all the time, when I have needed to use it, it has come in handy. So I do always recommend people to buy the beauty blender or any type of beauty sponge. I also highly recommend the Sonia Kashuk one. It's just one of my favorites. I reach for it more than I reach for the beauty blender, and I only paid $7 for it at Target. But I basically use this just to put powder to set everywhere that I set everywhere I did my concealer on my face. So my powder under my eyes, forehead, all of that. This is what I'm using that for. Sometimes I damp it, but it's pretty soft without having to damp it, so I don't damp it all the time. But I just like that for my powder because I feel like if I'm putting powder on top of something wet, it just presses it in my skin really, really well, and I really, really like that. So that is definitely a good sponge to have. Lastly, we have our brushes. So these are eye brushes. I'm gonna kind of run through them because eye brushes are pretty like basic. I use a lot of crease brushes just because. So these three to me are really good for your crease. This is the M501 brush. You're not confused. This is the M501. This is the M504. I'm trying to figure out how I want to show you. This is the M504. And then this is the M535. So these are all crease brushes. These are all brushes that you could use in your crease. But if you notice, they're all different. So this one is for a bit more of a fluffier, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, dusted out. It's a word I'm looking for, but this particular one is good for blown out. This is good for like a blown out effect on your eyes. So I like that for that. So this is a step smaller than that. And this is good for getting still kind of blown out, but still getting in your crease. That's why I like this one. Because it still gives you a blown out effect because it's still kind of big, but it's slightly smaller. So it's actually going in your crease. And then lastly, my M535, this one is the one that I think might be in the James Charles palette, but I'm not sure. I mean, James Charles brushes, but I'm not sure. But this one is smaller than both of them. It's still fluffy. I feel like it has a really good way of getting directly in your crease. So these are the three crease brushes that I recommend. They all are, although they are all crease brushes, they all do something different. So I definitely recommend getting different types of crease brushes or finding your favorite one and then buying multiples of those, because when you're doing your eyeshadow, the crease crease is one of the main places you're continuously playing with. So now I got 3 more brushes. Of course, this is the M433 brush. And this is, of course, this is the bristles are a little bit different, but it's more of a tapered crease brush. So this is good to go from your crease down onto your lid and start packing color onto your lid. It's not a packing brush, but it is good to start bringing down that your crease color from your crease down onto your lid and then buffing it out. So that is why this is a really good one to have. And then of course, if I mentioned it, I have to mention a packing brush. So this is the M166 brush. And this is a packing brush. And so this is just used when you just put a little bit of color on there and pat that color in. You're packing it on. So when I'm doing like a lot of color, or I do a cut crease and I really want that color right there to be intense, I take my packing brush and I'll follow my cut crease, or I'll pack where I need to pack. Just like if you guys go on my Instagram, follow me. But if you go on my Instagram, I have the picture with my yellow eyeshadow. This baby right here. I have a couple of these. But a packing brush is your best friend when you want to get intense color on your eyes. Or even when you're adding any type of lid color. You want something like this. You want a packing brush because it makes it very easy. And you get the pigment that you're looking for. And lastly, a pencil brush. So the pencil brush to me has multi-uses, right? So of course I didn't even talk about a brush that you would do under your eyes with. So for me, pencil brushes serve one of two purposes. And this is the Morphe M433 Brush. This to me serves 2 purposes. So I can use this, or 3 really. So I use this to put the highlighter in the eye. So anytime you're trying to add a pop of any type of color or shimmer in your tear ducts, like that area, a pencil brush is your best friend. I also like to use a pencil brush when I'm going up under my eyes with color, because although it still has fluff and can still pack on color, but it's also tapered and small enough where it can get like really up under there. So if I'm trying to blow out my outer corner and I'm under my eyes, that's what this is for. Just like what I just said with the outer corner, outer V. If you're like packing on dark color, this is good to kind of get more precise and add more color. So I will say that your pencil brush is your best friend because it adds more precision to your look. It makes it so that doing your eyes are a little bit easier when you're wanting to do precise or small places, like in here. You can even, if you wanted to do something special around here, you could even put it there. It's just meant for you to get very, very specific and precise with whatever eye look that you're trying to achieve. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. I really hope that I didn't go too fast. Brushes are pretty basic. If you want me to go in depth with any of the brushes or do a tutorial using all those brushes just so you can kind of see them in use, I can do that for you. Leave a comment down below if that's something that you would want to see. But other than that, that's it. Those are my go-to brushes. Of course, I use other brushes, but if I had to pick a set of brushes that are like the ones that I'm going to pick up every time, or if I'm traveling, the ones that I trust the most, those are the ones that I trust the most. The majority of them are from Morphe. Like I said, if you live here in Atlanta, there's a Morphe store in Lenox, and they sell Morphe in Ulta. So in probably any Ulta, you could find maybe not all of these brushes as much as the actual store or online, but you can get a large chunk of these brushes at Ulta as well. So that's it. That is all I have. Again, leave a comment below letting me know if you want to see these brushes in action. But other than that, that's all I have. Make sure that you like, subscribe, thumbs up, comment, hit the bell, all of that good stuff to be notified when I post anything, and to just keep up. I mean, I got some good content that I want to put out for you guys, so just make sure that you are in the loop, okay? Because we don't want nobody left out. And if you aren't already, make sure that you are following me on my social media at Amber M Mack _. Make sure that you're following my blog, sincerely ambermariemack.com. Go subscribe to my blog. And make sure that you are subscribed to my podcast, More Wine Please with Amber Mack. I took a hiatus from everything, but I am back on it. I'm back on my grind. So make sure that you guys are up to date. Make sure you're in tune. You don't want to be left out. You don't want to be left out of this. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one. Peace.